Hey guys, welcome back to the KB Cabinet channel. My name is Rob, and in today's very short video, I want to go over how I size my upper cabinets. That is the cabinets that go over the bases. There are some standards, some rules you want to follow, so that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to be doing this in my main CAD program, which is Hexagon's Cabinet Vision. You absolutely do not need this program. This is simply a visual aid, so that way I can show you what it is that I do. So let's get started with this first example. And this is going to be, we're going to pretend we're looking at a kitchen wall, and this is an 8-foot tall wall to the ceiling, which is pretty common. You see that a lot. So we're going to look over here. So the first cabinet I have on the wall is going to be, the first number is the width of the cabinet, so it's 30 inches wide. The second number is the height of the cabinet. So this is a pretty standard size you'll see, probably some older houses. On an 8-foot ceiling, we want to make sure, on any height ceiling, we over at KBC, or KB Cabinets, we always make sure that our cabinets are installed 54 inches off of the ground. So that's something that's important. When I go out with my installation team, I make sure that the cabinets, pretty much on most circumstances, it's going to be 54 inches from the floor. There are some exceptions, but as a general rule. So if we look at the 30-inch tall cabinet and we're at 54 inches from the floor, that's going to give us, let's see, what are we? We're 12 inches. It's going to give us a 12-inch distance between the top of the cabinet and the ceiling. Put your crown around it, and you're pretty much good to go there. A lot of times, people want a little bit more cabinet. So then, in that case, we're going to jump up to the 36-inch tall upper. So our standard sizes, you can kind of see, they go from 30 to 36. When you have a 36-inch tall upper, it's going to leave you, so this was 12 inches, so this one you're going to have 6 inches of gap. So by the time you have your crown, not a lot of space, but there still is space up there. A lot of people call those the dust collector area, because it's not big enough to do much with, but it's big enough to catch dust, I guess. So in that case, you'll have a lot of people that say, I want to go straight to the ceiling with my cabinets. If that's the case, on an 8-foot ceiling, we are going to adjust this to a 41-inch tall upper. Everything else is going to be the same except for this top rail. If we look at our standard cabinet, we have a standard top rail width of 1.5 inches. What we want to do when you go to the ceiling, and this is pretty much any time you want to go to the ceiling, we want to extend this top rail. In this case, we're going to do 3 inches, but this number could change based on the specific type of crown you're using. You might have to make that bigger. So in conjunction with that, we want to also make sure that when we install this cabinet at 54 inches from the floor, we want to make sure that we have a 1-inch gap between the top of the cabinet and the ceiling. Very important. The reason that is you can't, if we were to shove that cabinet all the way up to the ceiling and you try to put your crown around it, well, 100 times out of 100, the ceiling's not going to be level with a sheetrock, and so you're going to have a nightmare of a time trying to crown that. So with that extended style at the top and that 1-inch gap, it gives you some freedom to you're not so restricted when you go to crown the top. So very important that you want to make life as easy as you can when you do some of this stuff. All right, so let's say that we just went over an 8-foot ceiling. Let's say we're going to go to a 9-foot ceiling. So 108 inches. This is pretty standard height anymore, at least in the Northwest Arkansas construction. You know, a lot of the newer construction, 9-foot ceilings or taller is generally what I'm seeing. In the case of our first two examples, if they want a 30-inch tall upper or 36 or anything in between, nothing's going to change there. The only thing that's really going to change is when we go to the ceiling. So this cabinet here, what we're going to do, so let's say that you have a customer, they have a 9-foot ceiling, they say, we want to go to the ceiling. Well, we know that 41-inch cabinet is what we would go to the ceiling on an 8-foot ceiling. But on a 9-foot ceiling, what we want to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to make this a 53-inch tall upper. And it's pretty easy math, because what we're doing is you're subtracting out of this 108 inches the 1 inch that we need to be left over minus the 54 inches, and that's going to give you the remainder of 53 inches. We're going to leave this top rail, and in some cases, you know, this might be what the individual wants, something like this. You know, if you are going to leave it with a big door like that, it's probably good to let's see, section it, put a middle rail in the door, something like that. But for a lot of people out there, they actually want the kind of the double cabinet look, or if someone were to explain it, they always say the little cabinet that's over the big cabinet. And what they mean by that is if I were to start out with one cabinet at 53 tall, we want to make it look like 2. So we're going to come here, and the height on the upper section, generally we stick between 12 to 14 inches. So we're going to do 14. And if you guys don't have any clue what I'm doing in this program, you know, you can kind of ignore me. Cabinet Vision is a great program, by the way. It's very, very expensive, but it is a great program if you do cabinetry on a large scale. All right, so now we have a cabinet that's going to the ceiling that has basically the little cabinet on the top look over the bigger cabinet, and it's all out of one cabinet. And you know, when you do it this style, you could either, sometimes you'll see the glass panels and they'll put the lighting in the cabinet, and that's, you know, you can put stuff on display, nice china or whatever it is. But I found that it's better to build these types of cabinets as long as they're not too big, you know, something this size out of one cabinet, versus like building this cabinet separate and then this cabinet separate, and then trying to put them on top of each other. There are people out there that do it. I have seen it quite a bit in houses. You do run into problems on the joints with paint, so it's easy to do. So I would just say, you know, based on my experience, to build it out of make it in one cabinet. And really, that's pretty much it. That's kind of what I wanted to focus on in this video. Let's just real quick, let's say if, you know, we're at a 9-foot ceiling, so a 10-foot ceiling, the principle is the same. You're going to subtract that 1 inch from, you know, you've got the 1 inch up here, you've got the 35 or 34 and a half, you got the 1 inch up here, and then you've got the 54 inches to the bottom, and then that's what your final number left over. That's how big your cabinet's going to be. Any more than 53, they tend to get pretty big. You know, if you start getting, which we do some of that. So you're talking, so at a 10-foot ceiling, you're going to want to do a 65-inch tall cabinet. Let's go back to 14. And then so 30 inches by 65. So that's how you would size your cabinets that go to the ceiling on a 10-foot ceiling. huge, you know, be big, extravagant. It's going to look beautiful when it's in. But so anyways, so that's what I wanted to cover in this video. In the future, I'm going to start putting out a couple more videos on more design stuff, like how to size like a microwave cabinet, or a tall oven cabinet with a double oven, or microwave over and over and insert. And I'm going to go over that. So stay tuned for more videos, and we will see you next time.